Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. Following a critically acclaimed, sold-out run off-Broadway, the new musical Dead Outlaw will open on Broadway at the Longacre Theatre on April 27th. And joining me here at the legendary Sardi's are two of the show's stars, Andrew Durand and Julia Knitel. You're back in rehearsals again. How excited are you to come into Broadway and Dead Outlaw?
Dreams come true. I can't get enough. I'm so happy.
Yeah, so excited. I mean, it's my first time that something we made off-Broadway, just as sort of an artistic piece, got so much recognition and love that it's now moved on to this. It's usually, you're going to Broadway. Let's go to DC and do an out-of-town, or Chicago and do an out-of-town and run that regular track. So this is a real surprise and delight.
So how did this musical come about for each of you? Like, how did Dead Outlaw happen for you?
Yeah, I got an audition for what was then called the untitled David Yazbek piece. And I remember reading the script and hearing A Stranger and falling madly in love with it and like getting down the rabbit hole of Elmer McCurdy and how this wild true story is being turned into a musical. And I got kind of obsessed with it. And it's hard when you're auditioning because you don't know if it's going to go your way. And so you kind of have to protect your heart, but I didn't protect my heart at all. And I just hoped for the best and it worked. And then we got to do the workshop together, which was really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Peter Van Dam, who is our casting director, works for TRC company. He happens to be a longtime friend of mine. We went to college together. We were in the same class. We lived together for the first 12 years of our New York City lives. Mm. And it's not why I got the part, by the way. Still had to audition. But he called me and he was like, I think there's a really great part for you in this show that I'm working on. And it was all the band's visit team. So I was like, duh, of course. But you go in there and everybody's there because everybody wants to work for this team, But yeah, just auditioned for it, and same, like I read the script and the first page, literally all that's on the first page of the script is the beautiful lyrics to this opening song about nature and longing and life, and the only written line on the bottom of the page, can I say this, is, all right, boys, let's go rob that fucking train. So the juxtaposition of that is sort of what the whole show is, and it's on the first page, and I was thrilled.
That is great. So there was a workshop done next. Mm-hmm. So what was it like when you first found out what this show was? Like you read the story, like briefly tell our audience what this show is.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a true story. It's a guy who was born in Maine in the late 1800s to a sort of sad, weird family situation. And so he sort of ended up abandoned at a young age. He sort of had drinking problems, and then he ruined his life sort of wherever he ended up, and then he ended up in one town where he had it good for a few years. He was a volunteer fire department worker. He had a job, he had a girlfriend, but he still sabotaged that, and so eventually he ends up in the army, in the coal mines, ruins all that as well, and then he's sort of wrangled into this bank train robbing gang, because he knows how to use explosives, and they said, well, you can blow open safes and things, and none of that goes well either. I won't give away too much, but then yeah, he's shot and killed by a sheriff's posse, and then he achieves sort of more fame and notoriety in his afterlife than he ever had in his living life.
It's such an incredible story because anybody can Google this, and the story is fascinating. Mm-hmm. So it's like when you first found out that this was this musical, like, oh my God, I want to live in this world, right?
Yes, yeah, and the music is so unique, and the way that Eric De La Penna and David Yazbek use different styles to tell the story as we move from the 1800s in Maine to the 1970s in California and all the stops along the way. There's so many different styles and so many different energies and so many different instruments that you get to experience that you may not have in the traditional Broadway pit. And it's quite the oral experience as well as visual.
Yeah, and that the band is live on stage the whole time. It's like you're getting like a rock concert as well as a show.
Mm-hmm. So beautifully done. Talk about your creative team. You started to talk about David and Eric and Itamar Moses. I mean, just to be in the room with the three of them and then throw your director into the mix, David Cromer, who just thinks outside of the box. Mm-hmm. So what's it been like working with the creative team?
I mean, they're also understated as well. You know, they are sort of silent geniuses, and they all work really well together. You know, there's a lot of sort of healthy poking fun at each other, things like that. But yeah, it's sort of like being in a musical and a play and a rock concert all at the same time, because those are sort of the passions that they all have individually, and they sort of all bring it together in this show.
Well said. I was really intimidated at first. It was very scary, especially during the workshop and off-Broadway, when I knew how special the piece was, and I knew how special everyone around me was, you know, behind the table and on stage. And I just was like, what am I doing here? How did I get here? And it's been kind of cool to revisit it and have one of the things that Cromer said to us in rehearsal that I think really had an impact on everyone in the cast was, you don't need to do anything. You're all interesting, smart actors who are doing what only you can do. And I think that remembering not to do too much or you know, get in your head is really helpful, because it's such a simple piece at the end of the day. It really is just telling a story, and you know, we've got great people leading us.
Mm-hmm. And that is what's great about them as a creative team. They really believe in the story that they're trying to tell, so there's nothing that feels like, oh, well, we have to throw a bunch of stuff on top of this so that it's entertaining and we can sell it. Really, we're stripping away constantly to try to just expose the truest form of the story and telling it in the best, most delicate way.
Finally, what's made this so special for you? You've each done incredible shows before. What's making this one so special for each of you?
This is my first originating a principal role on Broadway, and it's a moment where I really do feel all my dreams coming true. Yeah. And I came home, I was on tour with Come From Away for almost 4 years, and I came home and I was like, okay, what's next? And I wrote down all the things that I wanted in my next job. And they were a, you know, critically acclaimed hit that people love to see, with beautiful music, a touching story, and you know, a small cast that is more like an actor-singer piece. And it all came true, and here I am doing it on Broadway. And so I just kind of I'm trying to really be in the moment and appreciate that feeling of dreams coming true.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, the only downside of doing this show that I keep telling myself is that, well, it may never get this good again, because it's so wonderful. We are enabled to tell a story in such a beautiful way. We're not being asked to do anything extra or, you know, anything like that. So it just feels very, it's a real gift, this experience and this show and this team and this cast and the whole thing. So yeah, it's definitely my favorite show that I've been able to do, I think. And I've never been a part of something that people are so excited about and is so anticipated. So that's a really thrilling thing to get to. And like you say, not a lot of people got to see it downtown, so there are so many people who are dying to see it, and it's really exciting to be a part of something so buzzy.
Yeah.